think about Disney. For nearly a century, it's been arguably the most fiercely protected brand on the entire planet. A kingdom built on absolute meticulous control over every single one of its characters. And then, in one move, they made a billion-dollar bet that seems to go against everything they've ever stood for.
Okay, let's just dive right in. This was the raw, unfiltered, immediate reaction from the internet, and it gets right to the heart of this whole crazy situation. I mean, why would the company that famously sued a daycare for painting a mural of Mickey Mouse suddenly decide to hand the keys to the kingdom over to an AI?
Because the second the deal was announced, this is exactly what happened. The internet did what the internet does. It immediately began to stress test the system, creating the exact kind of brand-damaging, nightmarish content that Disney has spent its entire life fighting to prevent. Yeah, this whole thing felt completely out of character, right? So to really get it, we need to take a look at the massive deal that lit this fire in the first place. This entire firestorm, all this chaos, was sparked by one of the biggest partnerships we have ever seen between a legacy media giant and a new age tech company. And get this, we're not just talking about some licensing fee. No, Disney made a $1 billion equity investment into OpenAI. They aren't just renting the technology, they are buying a piece of its future. They are betting the farm that this is where the world is going. So, on the surface, the deal is pretty straightforward. It's a 3-year agreement that makes Disney the first major content partner for OpenAI's incredible video generator, Sora. This means users can officially use Disney's intellectual property to create their own videos and images. But Disney really tried to walk a tightrope here. They basically said, okay, you can have the animated characters, the costumes, the spaceships. Go ahead and play with Mickey Mouse, Iron Man's suit, the Millennium Falcon. But they drew a very hard line at the human element. The likenesses and voices of the actual actors, strictly off limits. And the scale here is it's massive. We're talking more than 200 of the most famous characters in history. From Pixar to Marvel to Star Wars, they're all now officially in a generative AI sandbox for fans to use. This is totally unprecedented. So again, you have to ask, why? This move seems to contradict a solid century of protecting their brand. What on earth could the master plan be here? Well, it turns out Disney is fighting a war on 2 fronts. On one side, they're collaborating with OpenAI, the company they can partner with and maybe try to influence from the inside. At the same time, though, they're litigating against pretty much everyone else. They've sent cease and desist letters to Google and are suing companies like Midjourney for using their IP without a deal. And here's the vision, straight from the top, CEO Bob Iger. He doesn't see AI as a threat. He sees it as a tool for fan engagement. The goal is to connect with what Disney is calling the AI native generation. Younger folks who don't just want to watch stories, they want to get in there, interact with them, remix them, and make them their own. So in Disney's perfect world, the pipeline looks something like this. Fans create an endless stream of content for free. That content spreads across social media, which is basically free marketing, and then Disney gets to skim the cream of the crop and feature it right on Disney+, filling up their streaming service without paying for production. But as we've already seen, it's not a perfect world. Which brings us right back to the chaos, because that nice, clean corporate vision immediately collided with the messy, unpredictable, and often brutal reality of the internet. The reaction online was just overwhelmingly cynical. I mean, so many people immediately pointed to that infamous and very weird Spider-Man/Elsa video thing from YouTube years ago. It was seen as this giant blinking warning sign of what happens when you hand beloved characters over to an algorithm and an anonymous user base. At its core, the conflict here is really fundamental. Disney's entire brand is built on absolute control and perfectionism. Generative AI, by its very nature, is chaotic and unpredictable. And when you smash those two things together, the public's first reaction was to use that chaos to dismantle the control. So beyond the potential brand damage, this whole deal forces everyone in the creative industry to ask some incredibly difficult questions about what happens next. You can bet creative unions and Hollywood guilds are watching this very, very closely. They see a Pandora's box being opened, one that could devalue the work of human artists, writers, and animators, and, as this quote says, just flood platforms with low-quality material. And really, this deal leaves all the biggest questions just hanging out there, totally unanswered. How do you tell the difference between a licensed AI video and a pirated one? What are the actual safety measures to stop misuse? And what happens to copyright when a fan creates the next viral sensation using Disney's toys? Who owns it? Ultimately, that is what this billion-dollar gamble comes down to. It forces us all to imagine a future where the lines between the company that owns the story, the artist that creates it, and the fan that consumes it are permanently and perhaps chaotically blurred forever.